And what is going on with everybody? It is your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you in the Green Dungeon today, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I have somebody on the other line, man. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Who do we have?
Hello, my name is Dent May. I am a songwriter and artist, originally from Jackson, Mississippi, and I'm living here in sunny Los Angeles, California these days.
Hey man, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Uh, just hanging out, gonna make music in a little bit, and had a good weekend.
Oh,
Can't complain.
you say you're from Jackson, Mississippi, and now you're in LA. I would imagine that's like a crazy change of scenery, right?
It's a pretty different place, but I've been like a touring musician for like 10 years, so I visited like a million times. I went to school in New York City for like 3 semesters back in the day. So like I knew what to expect, and it wasn't like necessarily a big culture shock or something like that. But I went to college at like University of Mississippi in Oxford, Mississippi, which is like a town of like 30 or 40,000 people. So it's like really different from LA. But yeah, I've been here a bunch of times, and I knew what to expect, and like I love it here. So
Well,
it's cool.
you said you went from Jackson to New York. Was that a big culture shock at first?
I mean, I wouldn't say shocked because it was like I was just so excited to get
Mm,
out of Mississippi for a little while, and like I was just and like again like I had the internet. I knew what the New York City's a big place,
yeah.
like, but and so yeah, I went to film school for 3 semesters at NYU, and then dropped out and decided to move back to Mississippi, and like that was when I was like, okay, I'm doing music, like
Mm.
that's my focus from now on, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely really different traveling around and seeing places that are not Mississippi, but it's not really a shock or
Well,
anything like that.
I have to get every time I bring up New York in an interview, I have to get my daily New York slander in. So basically, we're the same because we're both from the South. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. So,
Oh, okay, I've been there many
like,
times.
really,
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
I played a show there. I can't remember what the place was called. And I actually was in St. Augustine, Florida. I recorded one of my albums in St. Augustine, Florida.
Really.
Not to interrupt your slander. I I like Florida. I really like Florida.
So that's really funny. We're gonna get into Florida in a minute, but it's funny
Okay.
because I feel like New York. I don't know. It's just I guess being from the South, the culture is very different from New York people. I feel like yeah, they're kind of rude a lot. You know, like if you actually bump into somebody in the South, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, oh, cool. But then you like in New York, like, fuck out of here, suck my dick, and it's like, whoa, just tripped and fell. What are you talking? It's really
Yeah.
crazy. So like were you brought up being in the South? Did you have like Southern hospitality? Is that something you were brought up with?
Oh yeah, dude. Manners, man. Like manners, politeness. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Like stupid shit, like setting the table right and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
weird traditions. But most of all, definitely treating people and especially strangers with respect and friendliness. But one thing I've learned is that like sometimes there's that fakeness to that
Mm.
friendliness and to that hospitality, where I like can appreciate people in New York City and other places in the Northeast or elsewhere being a little rude or standoffish, because it's to me I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, like they're kind of being an asshole to me, but I don't know, I've kind of learned to appreciate that aspect of like the culture there, and like I've learned having toured all over the world that like people are nice everywhere. They just have different ways of showing it, and there's good people everywhere. So like I'm not the type to be like, because there's a lot of like New York people who are like fuck LA
Yeah.
or whatever, and it's like okay, like there's good people
Yeah.
everywhere, and I'm not the type to like really worry about it at all. Um, New York's a really expensive place to live. You have to kind of be really tough to survive, and
Hmm.
a lot of people are really career oriented. We're like in the South, and also in LA, it's kind of like chilling. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. Like I want to work really hard on my music, but I don't want to be like you know obsessed with my career or like have that like rule my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I feel like just like you said, there's a lot of differences between culture. The way certain people might show their friendliness is not going to be the same that person B does it. You know, it's always going to be different. So, like visiting all these different places, do you create music off of like the vibe or the energy that you get from these places? Because you said you recorded albums in Florida. Was that because you got an energy from Florida that you didn't get anywhere else, or was it just happened to be in Florida?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Florida was sort of a coincidence. basically, like, I had this kind of romantic idea forever that like I wanted to rent a house for like a month or so and like make an album there. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So I was like definitely looking for vibey houses, historic. You know, St. Augustine, as you know, is like
Yeah.
a really historic town. So like I rented this like beautiful historic Victorian house that had like a grand piano in it, and didn't know anybody there, but I did meet a lot of people when I was there. Like I met people to play horns and strings and stuff on my record, and I was definitely like the goal was to be inspired by the energy there. And I do
Mm.
think that like just being in a new setting of really any kind, whether you move to a new house in the same town or you just went for a walk to the park to try to like write some lyrics or something, like a change of setting and vibes like really goes a long way in the creative process. So that was kind of the idea. I was like, let me get out of my, because I've always been a home recording person. I do have a studio space that I share with people that's not at my house now, but like I've always been a home recording person. So like getting out of the house just to like shake up my ideas has been really, I've found to be really important. Like right now I'm looking at like renting a cabin on Airbnb for like 4 or 5 days outside of LA just to write lyrics. You know, I love doing that stuff like that.
That's really interesting. Like exactly what type of. So it's funny because I actually brought this up like a couple days ago to somebody, and I interviewed this guy on YouTube. His name is Bill Wirtz. He's like this
Okay.
quirky guy, and he does like a lot of weird stuff. And I asked him. I basically said that I feel like a lot of people look over the small intricate things in life because it's very easy to miss. And he rebutted with that it's very easy to miss the obvious big things in life. So I asked him what are things that he gets inspired by that's outside of music that are obvious big things. And he said that he likes Blade Runner, and the lighting in Blade Runner basically influences him sometimes to go and want to make music. So you're talking about like getting influenced by like all of these things. Like what are things outside of music? It could be obvious or small intricate things that influences you to just something. You can see a tree and you're like, I want to make a song. Like, is there anything recently that you've seen that's just like, wow, this wants me to like create. This makes me want to create.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, the example of the like historic, beautiful home in Florida was a good example because I'm sort of like I'm a not necessarily on purpose, but my music kind of nostalgic, kind of retro. So like a lot of retro shit, like old houses, and going to thrift stores, antiques, retro like aesthetics and color schemes, and like old dive bars, weird old diners or restaurants, and stuff like that. For sure, it's like not. It's like it's just like even just like a color scheme or just a bunch of weird old junk in a room. Uh, like does like inspire me to create, and I think that kind of does parallel my music, where it's like my music isn't like minimal or sleek and streamlined like a lot of stuff is now. Like it's not like going into like a fancy, uh, you know, hotel that's like really like minimal and sleek and like in good taste. I'm kind of more of like a junk collector. Like I'm like in my bedroom. I like hoard a lot of crap from thrift stores and stuff. And like in a similar way with my music, like I like to draw inspiration from everywhere I can, musically or otherwise. So it's like whether it's like oldies and like 70s soul and funk, or like 90s pop, or like contemporary music, indie rock, or like all of the above.
Hmm.
I want to like take that and turn it into something that's me. And so yeah, it's like it's a little silly, a little goofy, a little kitschy sometimes with my tastes in things that aren't music, but like it's for me it's fun. I like fun stuff, and I do. It's boring to me, like like no diss to them. I know you're the Kanye to the forum or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like seeing like Kanye and Kim's house so minimalist and it's like all beige.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it, it,
crazy.
it, it's interesting from a design perspective, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the opposite of my aesthetic, which is just like a bunch of junk,
Yeah.
like random shit. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you've seen their sink, but they have like the weirdest
Oh, I
sink of
saw
all.
it.
That's the. I was like, what's going on here?
Everybody was
That's
like, "Wait,
crazy.
is this a sink? Where's the
Yeah, where's
spout?
the
Like,
little
where
thing?
they?"
Yeah. I
And
have no
I
idea.
like it. I'm interested in design, and like I respect it, and I'm like interested. I would be interested to like read about the designer that did that, and I respect their artistry. But like, you know, like I don't know. Like I'm just gonna turn it around. Like for sure, I'll just show you my room.
I was gonna ask. I was definitely
You
gonna
know what
ask
I
you
mean?
to do
Like this
that.
is my piano. Like I've got like a weird old cat. You know what I mean? And then like a fan sent me these like autographed like astronauts. Like this like is like this thing I got at a thrift store that's like an advertisement for like an oldies radio station. I've got like Dodgers LA, like a weird Frankenstein mug. This is like some fan art somebody like sewed a picture of me, and like my bedspread is like weird in 70s and shit. So like that's just, I don't know. I like That's just the way I do it.
No, I definitely think, cause I learned one day, like in psychology, that a lot of creative people, their minds are like not organized. So like, a lot of creative people have terrible handwriting. Apparently, like I don't know if you have good handwriting or not, but my handwriting is really trash. Not saying I'm creative
Yeah,
or anything, but like I suck
yeah,
at handwriting. So
yeah.
yeah, that's why I think, because you're a really creative person, so that would correlate to like your mind and just things all every round just being like all over the place, of you being inspired, and not just by one thing, but being inspired by this and that and all over the place. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think that's
Yeah, and
definitely really interesting.
that's one reason I have to like maybe get out of town or get out of my house to really actually write, because I'm easily distracted,
Mm.
and like my mind is going everywhere. So like sometimes I do have to force myself. Like for me, the creative process of making an album, for example, there's this like really passionate period where I'm like I have a million like ideas for choruses, chord progressions, melodies, rhythms, drum parts, and all that shit, and it's all in my voice memos. Sometimes I've written it down in a notebook. Sometimes I'll start like a session in like Logic Pro or something, and then I'm like, wait, I have like 100 like half songs,
Mm.
and so the process of organizing that and then finishing it is like the hardest part for me, and that's actually where I am right now. Is like trying to be like, wait, I have like a million ideas and I have to like actually finish them. So that's like the hardest part for me.
Is it
Probably a
hard?
lot. Of,
Is it hard to like divide the ideas? Like I can't put every idea into this one album. I have to save this certain idea for the next album or the next two albums.
oh yeah, like and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's kind of similar. Sometimes you try to combine them. You're like, oh, these are really similar. Can I combine them? Other times you're like, I already did, like, oh man, these are like too similar, or like this doesn't quite fill the like. Or sometimes I'll be like, okay, I have 7 or 8 songs. What's missing? Like
Mm.
what part of the story I want to tell musically or lyrically have I not tapped into yet? And then I'll try to like specifically fill that void with the next thing I write. So like absolutely, there's definitely like some of those songs. Like some of the most favorite ideas I have are like from 3 albums ago, and I still haven't finished them. But I know, I mean, I could get hit by a car tomorrow and die. But if I'm gonna try to finish those ideas one day. And like there's some of them are like I'm like that's gonna be great on this. Like if I do like a super mellow of ballads, I want to do like that would fit there maybe. But I don't know. Sometimes it's just like you finished it, and a lot of the best songs you finish really quickly. Sometimes you do like finish it all in one sitting, and a lot of times that's the best stuff because it's just like just happened so fast, and you don't know where it came from, but it was just like really was inspired. You know what I mean?
Now it's really interesting because I was listening to your music today and I was like, you've been making music for like quite a time. So like,
Yeah, over 10 years. Yeah.
so like, how does it? Like, I know it comes to a point where you start to like try your hardest not to repeat ideas, or you may forget you even thought of this. Like, wow, I did this 8 years ago. So how hard is that to like not repeat or do things the same?
It's like it's hard. It's definitely hard not to repeat myself. I definitely find myself being like, for example, I use a lot of jazzy chords. I'll be like, okay, and then I'm like, every song has these like seventh chords in it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm like, why? Let's write a song that is just like simple chords or
Yeah.
whatever. And but at the same time, I'm like, because and everyone's kind of like this. Like because my tastes are so all over the place, I find myself questioning my what I'm gonna do. Like it's like I like synthesizers. I like pianos. I like orchestras. I like, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to make a synth pop album, all synths.
Mm.
Then I'm like, oh, I want to make like an album that's just like piano ballads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes like I want to make a disco funk, and inevitably my albums all have elements of all of that stuff. But like I'm constantly questioning my decisions and being like, oh, and my music, because my music is at least comes across as a little retro or nostalgic. I'm like, do I need to make more contemporary music? Do I need to make stuff that sounds like contemporary, like pop or R&B or like all the other stuff that I like, but something about me, and then I'm balancing that with just like trying to be true to who I am. You know what I mean? Because my favorite artists are people who like are so unique and their personality shines through above everything else. And I think that's what listeners grab onto is like personalities. You can be really great singer. You know what I mean? It's like American Idol, The Voice has like all these great, technically good singers.
Yeah.
Are they real? Are they like great artists? I mean, with their voice, maybe, and some of them probably, maybe they are, but it's like actually like having some like personality or like being yourself in a way that no one else is, and showing that side of yourself that is no one else can do that. because I'm not the best piano player, I'm not the best singer, I'm not the best producer, but like I have something to offer that is only I can offer, and I'm constantly trying to like hone in on what that can be or what that is.
It's really interesting you bring up like personalities because I always tell people that like for example, say a rapper,
Mm.
anybody could like grab a phone and read off lyrics from a phone. But I feel like when you start adding like vocal inflections and like different pitches and things like that, that really shows like the difference. Because let's say if you're even a comedian, you could say like a Dave Chappelle joke, and it probably won't be funny because you're not using your personality. I could just read it like the guy went to the store yesterday and he died, and it's like okay. But if you put your own personality and your flavor onto it, like oh the guy went to the and you do like vocal inflections and add little quirks of yours, I feel like that's what makes it yours. But I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, they're like hopping on trends and they're trying to like be the next person instead of like trying to be themselves. So I think that's holding a lot of people back.
Well, it's like how every singer that you hear, or like pop singer, is like breathy, like it's like a trend. It's
Yeah,
like everyone like talks in this
yeah,
whisper or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's like there, and I'm actually interested in why that is. I have a lot of theories. We like live in like a Spotify, Apple Music streaming model, and people and like music is becoming more like chill. Like everyone's obsessed with being chill, and there's a lot of articles that have come out about this lately. Like there was a New Yorker article that was like, "Is music is like," and it's like because playlisting is like the dominant listening
Mm.
format over albums now. That if you if you hear something that's like jarring, it's almost like it almost like discourages creativity in a way where if you hear something that's like unexpected or not what you were expecting, you will hit the next button. You'll say next, like
Yeah.
this is weird. But if you like got the new like Pink Floyd album in the '70s, you're like you or like you literally got that album because you wanted to hear some like creative ideas that you had never heard before or whatever. And I think and it's like almost like ASMR. You know what that is? Like
Yeah,
ASMR.
the whispering. Yeah.
That's like people sing like that, and I don't even dislike some of that music at all. You know what I mean? It's just interesting to me, like the trends of the way someone would deliver their vocals.
Mm.
But like, I don't want to hear you sound. I don't want to hear somebody that sounds like something I already heard. You know, that's like when you talk about the personality thing. I think like Young Thug is like the most creative like vocalist, one of the most creative vocalists like ever. And
Yeah.
like people might hear that and be like, "What the hell is this?" And it's not a he's not a traditionally good rapper, that's for sure, or a traditionally good singer. But it's like some of the most creative like vocalizing I've ever heard in my life. And it's like that person, and like yeah, he's got a personality. You know what I
He's
mean?
definitely one of those people where it's like he uses his voice as an instrument. Like
Absolutely.
it's crazy, and I feel like that's what makes him stand out, and that's why I feel like a lot of people are kind of falling into like the same lane because they're not, putting their own spin onto things, and I don't know, like that's weird. Like when you were first starting making the music, were you trying to fit in with the trends, or did you always have the mindset like I want to like just put my own personality into it?
Yeah, I was definitely guilty of trying to, yeah, not, I don't know about trends. Yeah, maybe trends. Like, so my first album, it went really well for me, and I like love the songs on it. But I'm a little embarrassed about how I put myself out there. I don't know if you've heard it. It's like an indie pop album called Dent and his 90% ukulele, and it's me all on ukulele,
Mm.
which like and like Meet Me in the Garden is like maybe one of my most successful songs ever is on that album, and I love every song on there. But I'm a little embarrassed that I like portrayed myself as this quirky ukulele playing indie pop guy, and it was a little self conscious where I was like, oh, I need an angle to differentiate myself from other people, so I'm going to be the ukulele guy on this album. And that said, I was sort of copying other people that were out there in the indie pop ether, whose names I'm not going to mention, a little bit with some of that music, and that was like a very small part of my personality I showed on that album, and like the music I'm making now, I want to just show more of myself and everything. And then there's still going to be people. There's still people that like are like will comment on me and be like, "Where's the ukulele?" and like harass me to play the
Yeah.
ukulele. But I also learned it's like a dark side to that. Like I was playing in Australia in like literally like 2010, so that tells you how long I've been doing this. Like, and I was with like my like label rep, and then this like middle-aged man came to the show and like was talking to us. He's like, oh, like I work for his label and like I booked the tour. And then he goes to he goes, reach out your hand, and she reached out her hand and he slapped the shit out of it. And he goes, this is for neglecting to alert the ukulele community of Australia about this tour. And I was just
Uh,
like, that's the lamest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like that. I was like, and I'm the kind like, once you're like in a club, it's like you want to get out of there. You know
yeah.
what I mean? A little bit. It's like once you can be pigeonholed or once you can be like explained in a few words, you want to like show them that that wasn't actually the case. So like I don't, and like this is 2019. Like the internet exists. Genres don't exist anymore. Like
Mm,
you don't have to like you don't have to fit in a box. But I think a lot of people are encouraged to make chill indie pop. For in one example, to fit in on these Spotify playlists, everyone's trying to get on the editorialized Spotify playlists and stuff. So it does kind of incentivize making bland music sometimes. That said, there's always going to be people out there who are like hungry to hear some weird shit. Um, so it's interesting to think about.
now, what's your thoughts on like the whole playlist over albums thing?
I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, man. I mean, I've been making, I'm older. Like I've been making mixed CDs. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, I remember when I was just thinking the other day, like CD burning parties.
Mm,
And I had Napster, I had all that stuff, and so like and just Spotify in general, being able to literally search for almost any piece of recorded music ever and have it at your fingertips is like radical development in
yeah.
culture. And I love making playlists. I've got a really good one called Dent on Spotify that's public, and it's like 15 hours long, and I recommend listening to it on shuffle. And like that's an extension of my personality, my artistry, me putting those songs together. So I love listening to playlists too. Um, but there's like a downside to even just having that choice of every album of all time. It's like the Netflix thing. It's like I can scroll through Amazon Prime or Netflix all day long and have but you can't pick one because
Mm,
there's too many.
yeah.
There's too many options, and so like I do romanticize a little bit the '90s or the '70s or whatever when you were like, oh my god, like my favorite artist is coming out with an album in like 2 months, and you like go to the CD store, you like camp out to get that CD, and then you listen to it every day for a month or whatever, or like the whole next rest of the year is it's in your rotation. Where now it's kind of like you like an album comes out and then like it gets talked about for like one day,
Mm,
and people listen to it while they're working, and it's on in the background, and they're like, yeah, I checked it out, it was good, but they can't tell you a lyric from the album or whatever. And obviously, there's fans that passionately listen to their favorite artists still to this day. That's never going to
yeah.
stop. But I think that's also why you get artists are more favoring a single release strategy where they drop a song, they're constantly dropping singles to keep their name out there in the conversation, and it's less about the album. I mean, I hope that albums are a thing forever because it's beautiful to listen to like 10 to 15 songs or whatever of like an artist's vision. That's to me like my favorite way of listening to music still. But I do have a lot of thoughts about you know if the direction we're going. I mean, we can't stop that. We can't put it back in the box, and like it's not like we can go back to that time ever. Like
Yeah.
Spotify already exists. Even if that company goes out of business, the fact that we can hear any music, that's never going to go away. So it's like we got to be like responsible as artists and listeners, and like I encourage listeners to find a way to support the artists they like because we don't make very much money off Spotify streams. So honestly, buying my T-shirt at the show or whatever goes a long way. So like, I know there's been a lot of articles about this recently. It's like being a responsible music listener, uh, like buy like some merch or buy the vinyl, even if you like rarely put it on, just to like have on the shelf. You know, um, I don't know.
Well,
It's interesting.
I feel like we're living in like a generation where everybody has like short attention spans. But to like specify what you're talking about, like supporting artists, I feel like that's becoming less of a thing because of just society. Like everybody's trying to get free things now. Like when you sign up for Netflix for the first time, you got a free trial. Oh, my Netflix trial ran up. Let me create another account through like a fake name or something.
Oh
Like
yeah,
everything is like free, free, free. So when it's like I get my new Drake album for free, perfect. Now I have to pay for it. Like what? Like nobody
yeah.
pays for anything anymore. So that's why I think, yeah, a lot of like the music industry is really like in a weird spot right now for sure.
And yeah, like, and I don't blame anybody for not wanting to buy my vinyl or my shirt, or being like, oh, the ticket price is $12. If it was five, I would have gone. That's fine with me. That's life. Like, it's hard. Like, making money is hard, and
Yeah,
your money that you made at your job is precious. And I would never feel entitled to people spending their hard-earned money on my shit. And then like on the other hand, it's our responsibility. It's Spotify's responsibility to pay the artist well. They're like, you know what I mean. So it's like not. It's not. The last person I'm gonna blame is the listener.
mm,
You know what I mean? Because it's like yeah, it's this is the culture, the free culture, and it's not nothing really is free. Like they all have like databases of like our browser histories
Yeah,
and our geotagged locations from our phones. So like we're paying in a different way. Where like we have no privacy and
yeah,
like probably like all of our Gmails and like our texts are like in a database somewhere, just like waiting to like be leaked and everyone to like pour over that stupid thing you said 5 years ago or whatever. So it's not nothing's really free, but I totally feel you. Like I yeah, like I don't buy a lot of new LPs of music. I go to the record stores and buy like old shit, but I try to support artists the way I can. I'll buy a ticket to a show even if it's my friend who I could ask for guest lists sometimes just because I want to like support it and it makes me feel good to do that. Again, I would never like blame anybody
yeah.
for not having the funds or even the desire to do that. You have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want with your money, and I don't feel entitled for anybody to spend it on my shit.
No, that's a fact. But it's definitely gonna be really trash when, like, going back to your point about text messages and Gmails coming out. Like, that's going to be a very trash era. Like, it's gonna be everything's gonna be the internet. You're gonna like wake up. You're gonna see like your favorite artist penis on the timeline. Like, whoa, what's going on? So, yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man. So for everybody who's watching, just be careful what you send out there, man, because
No doubt,
it's
dude.
coming out one day,
Don't
man.
say shit ever. Even on like on just the public Twitter, like I've definitely changed my like way of doing things where I don't want to even say anything.
Mm,
It's kind of sad because it's like Twitter used to be really fun and like a way to like express yourself and be funny, and it still is that. But like now I'm just kind of like I don't want to say shit out there anymore. Like I just that's maybe my personal preference, but I think a lot of people are like second guessing, like what do I want to put out there on the internet about myself? Like because like right when all that shit dropped, it was like, oh dude, I'm gonna say all this like funny, crazy shit on Twitter or like Instagram or Facebook, and now it's like you're like this sucks,
yeah.
And I hope that there's like a future beyond all that stuff. I don't know what our culture is gonna look like in 10 years or 50 years if the world lasts that long or whatever, but I am curious what's next.
No, yeah, it definitely should be interesting. But something that we haven't got into, which I have to get into, is your music, man. You're really,
Yeah.
really good, man. You're really like very, very consistent. You know, like for people who's never heard your music before, I would like, how would I describe it? Like dancing around in your house with like nothing but drawers on. That's type of music. And like,
Perfect.
if you do cocaine, like if I like did cocaine, I would definitely like do cocaine and listen to your music with nothing but drawers on. That's like the type of
That's
music
funny.
you make. It's really good. Like Dream for Me, it's probably my favorite song by you. I really love that song. It's a really
Thank
good
you.
song, man. The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a great song, man. Great song.
Well, thank you.
Great song, man. But yeah, I just
I
had to
mean,
let you know, man.
yeah, I mean, my philosophy on all that is like if I have fun making music, it's gonna be fun for people to listen to, and that's why like I don't shy away from like I heard this crazy like other melody that's gonna happen like in the background. Like usually I just put it in there, and I am trying to like stream like make the right decisions of like what goes in the song and what doesn't, and not overstuff it with too many ideas.
Hmm.
But like I'm sort of a maximalist artist. Like I like me, I want to hear, I want to have a bunch of shit going on, and I want it to work well like on speakers in the background or like on headphones, like intently listening to it. And and I'm really into songwriting. Like I think my main role as an artist is songwriting more so than being a singer or an instrumentalist or a producer. I mean, I do love producing music and the art of recording music, but like I want my songs to have lyrics and melodies that you could play on any instrument in any context in any tempo in any style, and it would still be a great song. And I think that that is a little bit missing from some music. Everyone's obsessed with vibes, and there's not really. And I mean, no, granted, there's a million great songs that come
Yeah.
out every probably, but like I think that my role as an artist and my favorite way to approach it as a songwriter, I love melodies.
Mm.
I love chord progressions and melodies and lyrics all married together in a concept that you're going to remember and that you're going to want to sing with your friends. Or you want to dance around the room alone. You know what I mean? That's what I do. Like I parties are fine, but like I love to just chill, smoke some weed, and like listen to music loud in my room alone. And
Yeah.
I will fucking dance around and bop around, like you know what I mean? Like and that excitement and that just like that when that euphoria that you feel when the music is that unexpectedly good and you're just like oh my God, how did they do that? I'm not saying that's what my music accomplishes, but that's
Yeah.
definitely the goal. That's absolutely the goal. And the goal is not to make a chill background music song. I mean, granted, there's a place for ambient music that has no lyrics. That's just, it's like it can be really beautiful and appropriate for that kind of music. But like, I want to like leave behind songs when I'm dead that like people can still sing. You know what I mean? When I'm gone.
Well, it's something interesting you brought up was songwriting because I've made videos about this, and I firmly believe that 90% of the time that you will not become like a legendary artist or people won't see you like 50 years from now like, oh, he's a legend if you don't have good songwriting. Because most of the people that I think about that are super like legendary status, they are known for like their lyrics, like you said, like mixing the melodies in, but the songwriting is like really, really important to me. And I feel like that's why a lot of this music now is going to be, oh, it's good in the moment, but 20 years from now, it really won't be remembered as like these great classics as you would remember a Prince album or something like that.
I totally agree. Like a vibey track that like is chill and that you like, and it like fits, and and it fits in with the zeitgeist of right now, and it sounds, it's not memorable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I want to like shake things up a little bit, and I want my music to sound a little different from everything else. You know what I mean? I don't want to fit in with everybody else. You know what I mean? And I do think, yeah, songs last forever. Vibes don't really last forever, and people's taste in that kind of stuff changes constantly. You listen to music from 5 years ago and it sounds dated.
Completely.
And like I want to make timeless music, and that you can never really put your finger on when it was made. You know what I mean? But you just know you love the song. That's like, I think that the timeless stuff is the stuff that lasts forever. And like, yeah, like I might not be the famous really, but like I want in 50 years some kid to discover my shit on the internet or whatever it's called in 50 years and be like, oh my God, this speaks to me. And it like, you know, because that's like how my life growing up as a teenager was exploring the internet and learning about weird old music that people had forgotten or never was big in the first place. And like the stuff that time forgot, you know, a lot of the best stuff will always find an audience. Like it might take longer, but like the best stuff will always be heard. So I just like try to work really hard to make my music extremely good. And I hope I'm not even there yet. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm trying really hard.
What do you have anybody like off the top of your head that when you were younger you discovered of just like some obscure older artists that you still love to this day?
Yeah, I mean, there's someone that always comes to mind is this guy named Arthur Russell. Did you ever hear him?
Never heard of Arthur Russell.
I mean, like, kind of is a cult. There's a documentary about him. Kanye sampled him on, I think the last song on Pablo album.
Really?
Like Madlib did the beat.
Oh, the 30 hours? The 30 hours?
Yeah,
okay.
like that is like an Arthur Russell song.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, to check out the Arthur Russell documentary. It's amazing. And he was like kind of in the New York City downtown like art scene in the 70s and stuff, but just like wasn't putting himself out there that much. He made like thousands of albums, maybe worth or hundreds of albums worth of material. Some came out at the time, some didn't, and some of it's like really chill folk. Some of it's like electronic music and like disco like club music, house music type stuff.
Yeah.
And some of it's like extremely like chill folk music and it's cool. And it was cool how like he just recorded so much and didn't put all of it out because it like leaves behind this like tangled legacy that people have to kind of sift through and like untangle for themselves. And yeah, the documentary is like really good and really inspiring. You know what I mean? There's this other guy that I feel like is having a moment like that. His name is Horami Hosono, or like some people call him Harry Hosono, a Japanese artist from like the 60s and 70s and 80s and still today. That was a part of a group called Yellow Magic Orchestra, which was like a synth pop, mostly known for synth pop in Japan, and like was like really influential. And like some people argue like invented techno or whatever, but like all of his solo records, no one had really been talking about. But over the last few years or 5 years, he's become like the it guy of like nerdy crate digging types. You know what I mean? And you know, like I'm trying to like Mac DeMarco's doing a track with him. Vampire Weekend sampled him on their brand new album. He just played the sold out show, his first show in LA in like 30, I don't know how many years, probably 20 or 30 years. Sold out like huge theater, you know what I mean? And like all his albums are getting reissued by like cool labels. and like the music is awesome, and it ranges from like in the late '60s he was doing kind of psychedelic pop to like '70s doing kind of like jazzy, funky Steely Dan type shit to like bringing in synthesizers, making like more techno pop and stuff like that. And like he left behind, or he's still a working artist, but his legacy is huge because he's like never stopped. You know what I mean? And that's another example of somebody who's like getting reappraised
Yeah.
by the public. You know what I mean? Now, like years later, and just because their music is that good, that's the only reason. It's because the music's amazing.
I'm gonna need you to do me a favor when we're off here. I need you to text me like just all these artists because I
Yeah,
definitely want to get into it.
and check out Dent Media on my Spotify if you have Spotify. I'm gonna put it on Apple Music because I just got like my free trial there.
Okay.
But I don't know, like yeah, I'll text you some shit and
Definitely.
like because like my favorite thing to do is get on YouTube and find the music, obscure music that I love. Like, and I DJ a lot around town in LA, and I buy records, and so that's like really all I
Okay.
do, and it informs my music and inspires my music.
Yeah,
You know?
I might have some people for you. Are you familiar with
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Strawberry Switchblade?
Yes. Oh my God, that's on Dent Radio. I swear to
Really?
God. I think that song. Ding, 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 it's like their biggest song. I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. I don't know what it's called, but I only know one song.
I found this song by them. I discovered them through this guy who was DJing, and he like had like the original record of like one of their records, but it's like on a different beat. It's like a different version. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. So I'll definitely send you
Dude,
that.
send it to me because it's probably not what I've heard. Yeah, that's another like random YouTube dig, like found that on YouTube, and I can't remember the song. Dun, 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 dun. Da-na-na-na-na. That's how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to find it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look through your Dent Medio, but yeah, I definitely send you that. Definitely,
Yeah, let's
definitely.
exchange some shit, some tips. Please send me music you're listening to.
Yeah,
You know,
as soon as
I would do that.
yeah, definitely as soon as we're done with this. But no, it's
That sounds
really
good.
interesting because you were talking about classic music, and somebody that I think is making classic music right now are the young legends, Okie Dokie, man, and I think they're really good. Like
Oh,
they're
the bands that I played, that I collabed with.
yes,
Yeah, they're
super
crazy.
duper good. Their last album is definitely one of my favorite albums of the year. So yeah, shout out to Okie
That's
Dokie.
good.
I was curious of how you guys even like connected.
Yeah, so I mean, I was on tour about a year, and I guess it was right when my last album dropped, like a year and a half ago or a couple years ago. I was on tour, and like increasingly, I really try to like do my work and find opening bands in every city that is good because that goes such a long way. Like to have a local band playing opening
Hmm.
that cool and good, and that is also like popping in their town
Yeah.
that is gonna keep people and like I was just told like Okie Dokie is like the best band in Nashville. Like that was literally my introduction to hearing about them. And I think I had streamed something like I just basically checked their Bandcamp and be like, this seems cool, let's do it. I didn't really dig very deep, but I had and then like my other friends I was like, oh, that's sick that Okie Dokie's opening. They're like really tight. And then yeah, I mean, basically, just I loved their show. Like, when they opened for us, I was like, and I could already feel like a kinship. Like, I felt like, oh my god, like this songwriting. Back to the songwriting things, like they have really classic
Yeah.
songwriting. You know what I mean? And like, and they're like, their show was awesome. Basically, I was like, let's stay in touch. We became internet friends, and then they have an album of all collaborations. And this is like, I mean, I don't know, a year ago, I like worked on this track. They sent me the instrumental, and then I wrote a song over their instrumental, sent back the vocals, and then they changed the instrumental completely. Like the original song was like way more melancholy and sad, and then they made it in more of a poppier song. Like I loved what they did, and then they're like, we decided this is the lead single off the album, and like I'm really proud of it. It's like I'm really proud of that song, and that's how I got hooked up with them. Playing shows on tour and trying to meet the coolest band in town while I'm there.
Nah, yeah, that was definitely a really good song. So yeah, I'm glad you guys came together.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you have to say before we get out of here, though, man?
Not really. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff like that. Like actually, my friend Paul Cherry. I don't know if you've heard of Paul Cherry. Highly recommend his music. He's
Okay.
coming over in like 20 minutes to write songs for his album. So I don't have anything to say, but I'm loving collaborating right now. I'm loving producing and writing with other artists. So if anybody is out there, send me your stuff. I check all my DMs. Yeah, I'm just like really enjoying being working with other people. And like back to the songwriting thing, just like when you have two good songwriters in a room or three or more, and you're bouncing ideas off each other, it's like a drug. It like is really fun and it's exciting and that it's like euphoric. And yeah, I have a studio space now that I'm sharing with some friends, and I'm kind of like entering a little bit of producer mode. I
Mm.
think a little, even though I'm like pretty far along with the new album. I feel like my future is a lot of producing and writing and collaborating too. So anyway, I don't really have anything else to add. This was really fun.
Well, hey,
This was really good.
for everybody watching, I appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play. You guys holler at your boy.